A legendary slate of games coming to Game Pass this month, and Redfall is launching at 30 FPS. Sound the fucking alarms! We gotta call the National Guard! Jesus fucking Christ, it's a panic! Welcome to the SPARCPass News Update. My name is Mark, and I am joined by Spencer. Spence, how are you, bud?
Holy shit, that was so aggressive. He does not prep me on what these intros are gonna be, so it's always a surprise to me, which is it's fun, obviously. Holy shit, that's not what I was expecting at all. I love it though. I love the energy. Let's do it.
If you've read Xbox Twitter over the last couple of weeks, you'd think that's the state that we're fucking in. We're gonna have
this isn't that far off. That's the best part. Like, you're pretty spot on.
Yeah, you'd think that we need to call in the National fucking Guard for what's going on with Xbox right now. We'll get into that a little bit later on. We're going to talk long and hard about Redfall launching at 30 FPS on the Xbox consoles. But first, Spencer, we got some games.
Some games is kind of an understatement. We got a lot of games, dude.
We got a good amount of games that we need to talk about here. A bunch of stuff launching on Game Pass both today and through the next couple of weeks. We've got the back half of April slate. The Xbox Wire article came out just around an hour ago. So let's get into it. Let's get intimate. Let's get fucking physical. Let's go through this fucking list because there's a lot to go through. Minecraft Legends is top of the pops. That is out today on cloud, console, and PC. Minecraft Legends is the game we're covering for next month's Game Club show. So you'll be able to hear our full thoughts on Minecraft Legends in just a couple weeks. But reviews are not quite out yet at time of recording. We're recording this at 10 a.m. Eastern time. The game does not launch until noon. So presumably the review embargo will lift then. So we don't have anything in terms of reviews, but we've actually seen a bunch of previews of Minecraft Legends coming down the pipe from various outlets. I read IGN's very recently. Miranda Sanchez did a very nice job breaking the game down. I think we're still kind of in the same spot we were in, what we've been for the last month of like, I'm intrigued by this, I'm excited about it, but whether or not I'll like it, I don't know. That's at least the spot that I'm still in. I don't know about you, Spence.
That's the exact same for me. Like, I'm interested, and we've talked about this both on like our Minecraft Legends episode or Minecraft Dungeons episode that we did. Minecraft Legends episode coming soon. Sheesh.
Yep.
That I'm interested. I'm interested to see how it turns out, because this is, for both of us, this is a style of game that we aren't usually huge into.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, similar to Minecraft Dungeons that brought that dungeon crawler to the more welcoming world that is Minecraft versus some of the other, like, worlds that these games are built in, if that is enough to pull me in and say, okay, I can at least dig this for a little bit.
Right. Basically from what I've read and understand from the previews that I've read, and there have been a handful of previews, Windows Central also put out a fantastic one that was very high on the game. Basically from what I'm understanding, it does sound like there is a little bit of a control learning curve if you're playing on controller. It does sound like there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but once you get beyond that learning curve, the game really opens up wide open for you.
Okay.
So I'm not surprised by that. Making a real-time strategy game, let alone a hybrid real-time strategy game, work on a controller is hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little commands that you got to get in an RTS. So the fact that it even works on controller at all is kind of a triumph. So I'm very curious to see how this game's going to turn out. I'm pretty excited to check it out. I just got the pre-install done. Like I said, it's launching in a couple hours, so I'm not going to be able to get a chance to check it out until I get home today. But I'm excited about it. I'm cautiously optimistic is sort of where I'm at after reading the previews. And we'll see where reviews land. I'm pretty curious as to where reviews are going to land on this one, because I feel like this one, again, could be all over the place if the RTS genre thing doesn't click with the individual reviewer, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, is like, will these reviews be kind of wacky and all over the place because of how many people are going to go, well, it's not Minecraft, well, yeah, it's not supposed to be Minecraft, dude. It's a different game.
Yeah.
And people are just going to latch on to one thing and instead of the others. But yeah, the controller thing was actually something I was kind of worried about. And it's kind of the same way I think about like playing MMOs with a controller. I'm like, there's just so many things to do. Like there's so many buttons you have to press and so many like commands and little keys that you can press on a mouse and a keyboard that you don't have on a controller.
Right.
So I'll be curious how that is. Like if it's just, it takes you getting through the tutorial to get a hang of it, that's not bad. If it's a real struggle though, I could see that being a deterrent for a lot of people.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends up looking. It sounds like we need to be prepared to walk in ready for a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, which I mean, I think that's fine. That happens in games.
Yeah, for sure. Especially a game that's trying to do something different, right?
Yeah,
like
a game that's trying to do like 3 things at once.
Right. This game's trying to be an adventure game and a Minecraft game and a real-time strategy game. Like it's trying to be 3 things.
Yeah.
So walk in expecting a bit of a learning curve, I think. But I'm excited to try it out. We'll see how it ends up squaring up when the reviews start coming out. But this is a big deal for Microsoft first party. This is the first Microsoft first party game that has come out since Pentiment, I think, was the last one.
Oh, geez,
and
I think
even
you're right.
Pentiment was the last one, and then a couple months before that was As Dusk Falls, both of which I think we can classify as smaller games. Minecraft Legends definitely, I would say, a tier above those, but probably a tier below the like Redfalls and Starfields and Halos and etceteras.
Yeah.
So definitely like there's like Microsoft publishing sort of indie experiences. There's the sort of mid-tier experience, and then there's the big AAA experience. This is probably falling somewhere between AAA and the mid-tier, right? I mean, it's a new release from Mojang. That's a deal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Is like this is just a big, like franchise in general that's getting something new.
Right. That's a big deal. So the floodgates are officially open. We'll see if they dry up post Redfall. We'll see what the next month or so ends up looking like. But the floodgates are officially open, I would say. And as long as the summer isn't also a complete drought before we get to Starfield, I feel like it's about to become a very exciting time for Game Pass. So that's the big game, and that's the game that we're going to be covering in depth and in a lot more detail in a couple of weeks. But there's a bunch of other stuff coming to Game Pass, so let's talk about it. April 20th, we got 2 games coming out. Medieval Dynasty, which we were looking this game up before we went live. It is a survival town building game. This game's already on Game Pass, but it is now coming to Xbox One. They're doing the older version of it now. You guys have listened to enough of these shows to know that what I just described, survival town building game, is the hardest pass for Spencer I have ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, dude, I honestly think I would rather play FIFA, and that's saying something. I don't have any interest in this at all.
That's not to say it's a bad game. I don't know.
Oh,
I
yeah, no.
If really don't know much about it.
If you're into these games, this could be like top tier amazing game. I don't know. And I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I'm saying it's a game that I would not enjoy, which is perfectly fine to say and understand about yourself. Yes. And that not everything is made for every individual person in the world.
Absolutely.
So I hope people that like these games dig it, though. Like, the aesthetic of it is cool, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it is in like an interesting, nice, like medieval fantasy like world. Like, I love that kind of stuff. But I could just go play Skyrim instead and get that fix.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, yeah. So Medieval Dynasty coming to Xbox One. If you're still on an Xbox One, first of all, I'm sorry. Series S's are cheap, I'm just saying. But also, if you're still on an Xbox One...
I like that they're still putting stuff there.
Too,
like,
yeah.
The console still works. And let's be honest, people still play like their Nintendo 64.
Right.
So, if all you got is the Xbox One, they're not completely leaving you out to dry yet, which is nice, I think.
they're really not leaving you out to dry at all because you can play all the new releases on cloud.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I've been talking about it when our basement is finally finished in the next decade. I would like to put probably just like my old PS4 and my old Xbox One downstairs with like a little TV, just a little hangout spot, you know. But I wouldn't see a reason to like buy a Series S for that. But like the Xbox One with cloud, because I also know that my internet can handle it, it's perfect for like little party games and stuff.
Yeah. It is nice that the Xbox One is not being left completely behind.
Yeah.
Even though
it's not just a Blu-ray player.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's still new stuff coming that you can play on it.
Sure.
It is probably about time. What, it's been like, we're getting on 2.5 years, so it probably is getting close to time to move on. But
yeah,
it is nice that it's not getting completely abandoned.
Yeah.
The other game coming out on April 20th, which I feel like is a bigger deal for you, Spencer, way more up your alley. Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, coming to cloud, console, and PC. Spencer, I'm going to let you wrap on this one because I know this one's your bag.
Yeah, dude. So Coffee Talk is super fun. It's been a while since I played it. I played it when it came out. I actually played it on my Switch. But it's this really interesting game. I don't want to totally call it a visual novel, but that's mostly what it is. People come into this coffee shop that you own as a late night spot, and the world is filled with humans and fantasy and like medieval and mythological beings that all cohabitate. And they come in, and some people like talk to you about their lives. Some people talk about what's going on in the city. You make them drinks, and you like kind of start to unravel these little stories that are happening between each characters and see how they kind of grow throughout the game. And then there are lots of, at the end at least, big what the actual fuck just happened moments that just throw you for a huge loop, and it's really fun. I can't say that the second one is good because it's just now coming out, but from what I've seen, it is a great continuation of the original one, which if that's exactly what it turns out to be, perfect. That's everything I would want. Just more of these weird stories in this wacky city.
Yeah, that sounds great. Like, you know, a visual novel in this sort of style, and the perspective of a barista is like a perfect perspective for a game like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that it changes it up a little bit. That I feel like stereotypically we think of like this kind of perspective that you would have in media as a bartender, right? Like, you're the bartender cleaning the glass as somebody comes in and talks about how much they hate their job or the bad day they had or whatever. So having it be like a late night coffee shop with a barista is super cool. I think it's just like a nice little twist on that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Keeps it fresh. And throughout it, there are opportunities to like try to make like latte art in the drinks. It is harder than making actual latte art. I will say that was a part that I struggled with a little bit. Granted, I didn't get to do it a lot. But like the few times I did it, I was like, this doesn't make sense. How does this work?
I would say, and you have experience doing that in real life.
Yes.
So, like, if it's harder than the real thing, yeah, that's funny. That's very good.
It is a little bit harder because it's like you can't control it as well. Like controlling the movement of a liquid is difficult to begin with, like in your physical hands, but then make it like you're doing it with a freaking analog stick, and it's just like, all right, well, wherever this ends up is where this ends up as far as I'm concerned.
Right. We're making abstract art today. We're making
exactly.
Abstract latte art. Yeah, Picasso will come calling.
Spot on, dude.
The game sounds cool. I never played the first one, so obviously I'd have to go back and play that one first. I'm actually curious as to whether that one is on Game Pass. I don't actually know.
I'm about 99% sure it is.
Okay.
I will take a look really quick, but I'm pretty sure it's there.
Yeah, if it's not, obviously that's a bit of a bummer for folks like me that didn't play the first one. But I'll be curious if you absolutely need to play the first one for the second one to make sense, how this one shakes.
Coffee Talk is available on PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. So
sweet.
everywhere that you can play except for cloud, it looks like.
Cool. And this one's coming to cloud, so excellent stuff.
And this one, and Coffee Talk might be cloud. I am looking at the PC app just to see it, and the PC app is not the best sometimes. So I would assume if the second one will be, the first one likely is too.
Yeah, we'll see.
But either way, it is available on there. I'm not sure if you have to play the first one to understand the second one, to be honest. But I would just do it. Like, it's not a long game at all. And I think, if anything, you'll get some perspective into the second one. You know, there might be some return characters and things that it'll just make a little bit more sense. But yeah, it's a pretty short game, so I would just play them both.
Right on. Sounds good. So that one's coming on April 20th alongside Medieval Dynasty. Up next, the next day, our Indie Blitz continues. This is another game that was featured at the ID on Xbox stream a couple of weeks ago. Homestead Arcana will be coming to cloud, console, and PC. I think the best way for me to describe this game is like, I want you to imagine, enter your mind palace, I want you to imagine Harvest Moon, but you're a wizard.
Okay.
That's basically Homestead Arcana. It's got a heavy farming element, and it's got a heavy going out and questing and adventuring element. It's got elements of both. They went on a pretty big deep dive on this on the ID at Xbox stream a couple weeks back. So if you're interested in this game, I would highly recommend going and checking out that look. They went very in depth on the farming and crafting system. The game looks very cozy. Like,
yeah,
I think
it does.
is the best way. The best way I would describe it is like it's like a warm cup of coffee in front of you. It's like a warm, sort of cozy game where you get to play a cool witch lady and make potions. So not something that I'm super stoked about, but this game definitely has a place. There's definitely a spot in the library for stuff like this.
Yeah, like, just looking at it, the art style would be the biggest thing to draw me in to try it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, the world and the art looks really cool, but typically I'm not super jazzed on these kind of games usually, but I know people that love them, like, love them. So this might be like the next big hit for fans of those kind of games, and I hope it is.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up looking, right? Like, if you've been playing, what is the Disney Starlight Valley on Game Pass for the past couple of months, and you've sort of like, it's like worn out your welcome with it, right? Like, you've been playing it long enough to where you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm ready to move on. This could be a good game to move on to, right? So if you're playing stuff that's already on the Game Pass library that's similar to this, here's another one for you that you can maybe move on to. April 26th, here's one that I'm really looking forward to. Unfortunately, it is only coming to PC. I hope they get this game on Xbox out at some point because it looks awesome. And it'll probably run fine on my PC anyway. It doesn't look particularly intensive. Cassette Beasts. I am stoked about this game, actually. It's Pokemon, but the Pokemon are also like cassette tapes. They're like Walkman. It looks precious. This was another game that was covered on the ID at Xbox stream. They had a nice long trailer on it. So again, if you're just now hearing about this game for the first time, I highly recommend going and checking out that ID at Xbox stream because there's a very good trailer there. This game looks hilarious. I want to try it out.
Yeah, this morning was the first time I'd really seen it. But I mean, it looks pretty cool. Like, I like the style of, like, looking. Just right now, I'm looking at a battle screen where your menu is a old cassette player, which I think is super cool. Like, yeah. I can definitely see where people are gonna go, this is just Pokemon, but I think that's kind of also fine. Like, those are good games, so having just like a spin on it doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think the twist on this game is like you record the monsters on the cassette tapes, and then if you put the cassette tapes in different monsters, you like evolve them and like transform them.
Yeah,
it's
I think
like
that's
sort of like
fusion thing is what it said.
Yeah, so that reminds me a bit of, if you're into these Monster Battler games like I was when I was a kid, you'll remember the name Monster Rancher. Hell yeah, that game fucks. Which was very much along the same lines of like, you take two monsters and you mishmash them together and then, oh, look at the wacky new monster, right? It seems to have that kind of vibe. And this game just has like a very, like, it has a very silly, fun vibe. And I absolutely want to check this one out. I thought this one looked sweet. at the ID at Xbox stream, and I definitely want to see it whenever it comes out in April. I have been playing a little bit more stuff on my PC lately. I normally avoid playing games on my PC like the plague, but I've been playing a lot more stuff lately. Along those lines, real quick side tangent. We didn't give a lot of love to Everspace 2 in the last news show. I was just listening to the last news show while I was prepping for this one. We didn't give a lot of love to that game. I've been playing the shit out of that game on my PC. That game rocks. It is so good.
Okay.
It is basically like, I want you to imagine a spaceflight game that is also Diablo. It's a looter shooter. It's fucking rad. It's really cool. They did a really nice job with it. So I've been playing more stuff on my PC. I haven't been completely avoiding the PC side of Game Pass as I usually do. So this one can just slot right into the lineup, baby.
There you go.
Except Beast looks really cool. I'm really looking forward to checking it out. The next day, April 27th, the hits keep coming.
Sheesh.
The next day, we've got a surprise. I was not expecting this game to be on this list, and I'm excited that it is. I did know that they were doing a rollback netcode test for this game, but I didn't know they were planning on putting it on Game Pass. It makes sense given that Guilty Gear Strive just went. I'm talking about BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle coming to cloud, console, and PC. This is the most recent BlazBlue game, but if I'm going to be honest, it's not really a BlazBlue game. This is Arc System Works' all of their like myriad secondary properties that are not Guilty Gear mishmashed together. It's BlazBlue, it's Arcana Hearts, it's Under Night In Birth. It's all their sort of obscure B-side fighting games. Plus, and this will interest you, Spencer, the cast of Ruby heavily features in this game as well. You get the main four girls.
That's the game.
Yeah, you get the main four girls and Neapolitan. So, I think it's dope. This game's coming to Game Pass. I'm always down for more fighting games. I literally complained about it 2 weeks ago on the main show that just came out for Minecraft Dungeons. I literally just complained I would like more fighting games. Well, here's another one. Hell yeah! Big thumbs up. Double thumbs up. Hell yeah!
I am mostly excited that you're excited. Being somebody who doesn't really play fighting games, I'm excited, though, that more of them are coming to Game Pass. Because, like we talked about the last time we talked about fighting games, and like when we talked about JRPGs and stuff coming, these are games that people see a lot and maybe don't play as much as they want to, because there's a barrier of entry with games, right? You have to buy games. And if you look at a game and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to like that. Shelling out money for it is not fun.
Tough, yeah.
But having it included is like the perfect way to try stuff, you know? So I'm glad things like that are hitting Game Pass to give people the opportunity to try them.
For sure. We talked big time in the Guilty Gear Strive bonus episode that I just did with Ty Ross from Coffee and Combos about how we hope that this game, Guilty Gear, we were talking about at the time, would be a gateway game that people would like be scrolling through their Game Pass and go, oh, that looks kind of cool. I kind of want to try that out. And then all of a sudden they're ingratiated into the world of fighting games, right?
Right.
I think Game Pass has an opportunity to be an excellent infection vector to get into the FGC. And just having more games that provide a more diverse option. Game Pass has had fighting games, but it's always been mostly NRS's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly been the NRS stuff, and we also had Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and of course Killer Instinct. So it's mostly been American-centric fighting games. So it's cool to get the Japanese fighting games getting more representation in Game Pass. I think Tekken was in Game Pass for a year. Like right when Game Pass first started, I think. But other than that, it has been mostly American-centric fighting games. So getting more of these in Game Pass, big win. Huge thumbs up. More, please. Keep it coming. Like, literally any game you make, Arc System Works, put that shit on Game Pass. I'm ready for it. Even if it's on a delay. Like, if you gotta, like, put it out for a year and then put it on Game Pass later, that's fine. I totally understand that. Make your money. I understand.
Right.
But more of these games on Game Pass would be even better for me personally, and I think for the community at large. But that's not the big game coming April 27th. The big game coming April 27th, Spencer. One you and I were both magnetized to the second we saw it at the game showcase last year. The Last Case of Benedict Fox is coming out for console and PC April 27th. I'm so excited to, whenever I finally have freaking time, play this one.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game when I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this game looks super cool. I feel like we've talked it to death. I'm just excited that it's finally actually going to be here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited to finally get hands-on on it. Speaking of the ID at Xbox stream, that was another game that was pretty heavily featured at the ID at Xbox stream, and I was not expecting this game to be as combat-centric as it is, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff at the ID at Xbox stream was all about combat. I was very surprised by that. Whenever you advertise a game as a Metroidvania game, you expect some amount of combat. But from what we had seen up to that point, I had kind of put it in the pigeonhole of like, this might play like an old Prince of Persia, right? Mm-hmm. Like it might be more like getting around obstacles than it is about fighting.
Yeah.
Nah, Benedict Fox is a fighting motherfucker. Like, this dude, he's teleporting around and doing all this crazy shit. This dude's slamming motherfuckers, and it looks dope. It actually got me more excited about the game, not less. Which I didn't think I could get more excited about this game. I think this game looks sick. I'm very excited that it's finally coming out. We're absolutely gonna either play it for the show or I'm just gonna play it for fun. I don't know. We're gonna play it at some point. I'm very excited for Last Case of Benedict Fox.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I feel like how and when we get to talk about it on the show will just vary based on when we had time to do things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
what does the game... I think the $1 million question is, what does the game showcase look like? If there's something that we need to play in June, then we might not get to it. If there's not, then it'll probably be Last Case of Benedict Fox.
Yeah.
It kind of just depends on how June ends up looking. Like, if they shadow drop something, we might need to, pivot to that. You know, and that's on the table. It's already happened once this year, right? So it kind of depends on how June ends up looking for us. But if June ends up not looking too wild, then it will probably be Last Case of Benedict Fox as a game we play on the show.
Yeah.
Which I'm stoked for. I'm so ready for this game. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
So that's the slate. That's the slate for April. April has been a damn good month on Game Pass.
It's a lot of games.
We've had a bunch of cool shit. We had all the stuff we talked about on last month's show, which I think the highlights of which are Ghostwire Tokyo, and I down-talked it in the news show, and I feel bad about it now. Everspace 2 fucks. I can't wait for that game to come to Xbox. That game fucks. It's so good. I can't wait for it to come to Xbox so that everybody in the Xbox ecosystem can play it. It is coming to Xbox. It's just coming a little bit later. That game fucking rules. And Ghostwire Tokyo is a great game. That, obviously we haven't had a chance to play for a year. And then this month's slate, Minecraft Legends, Coffee Talk Episode 2, I think Cassette Beast looks fun. More fighting games. Last Case of Benedict Fox, which we've been talking about for nearly a year. Like, this slate fucks, Spence. This one's, like, we normally talk about, oh yeah, this one's pretty good, or hey, this one could be better, like it wasn't great. This slate fucks. April has been a killer month for Game Pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I feel like this is the month and the time that people are, like, waiting for. There's been so many months where people are like, there's nothing on Game Pass. There's nothing on Xbox at all, when there's so many fucking games that were already there. They just wanted new things, right? And now I feel like we're finally, like, really hitting that stride.
Yeah, I have seen some complaints still of like, it's a bunch of indie stuff. Wah, wah. First of all, a lot of this indie stuff looks fucking rad.
Yeah.
I will
go play Call of Duty then. That's the kind of person I assume is bitching and moaning about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If that's what you want to play, that's fine. Shut up.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah. If for somebody who is a well-rounded gamer, I would say, for somebody who's not just looking at the AAA experience alone, right? I think this is a killer month for Game Pass. There's so much shit you're not even going to be able to get through. And oh, by the way, 2 days later, Redfall comes out.
Yeah, by the way, that just happens to be here.
Yeah, that also just happens to be here 2 days later, right after April ends. So a bunch of really cool stuff in April. Unfortunately, it's not all good news, Spence. Some stuff, unfortunately, does have to leave Game Pass. And I've got short list, but I think the games that are on here are actually pretty impactful. Unsold, which is a Souls-like, whatever. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is a pretty, that's like Dragon Quest's take on Minecraft, essentially. Not necessarily my thing, but Dragon Quest is a huge franchise in Japan, so it leaving the service is notable. Destroy All Humans, which I didn't even know was on Game Pass. They did a remake of that a few years ago. I didn't even know that was on Game Pass, so that leaving is a bummer, but I didn't even know it was there. So.
Yeah, it's more of a bummer that I didn't know it was there to play it before it left.
Right, exactly. But I played that game back in like 2003. Like, whatever, I'm good.
Yeah.
They didn't really change all that much from my understanding for the remake. They just made it prettier.
I think they just made it pretty, so whatever.
Yeah, I'm good. And then 2 games leaving Game Pass that I do actually think are a big deal. One of which we covered on the show. Bugsnax is leaving Game Pass. It signed its 1-year deal. They pumped their DLC through it, and now they're done. If you want to listen to our full thoughts on Bugsnax, we did do an episode about it, like right when it came out last year for Game Pass. Treated that game like it was a big deal show. I think overall we were sort of mixed on it, of like it was fine, but it got a little repetitive after a while.
Yeah.
I think that was sort of our overall sentiment. But I think Bugsnax is a really cool game and a really cool world, especially if you got a kid. Mm-hmm. Like I've seen a ton of sentiment in the last hour since it was announced that this game's leaving Game Pass of like, oh, this is one that I'm gonna have to buy because my son loves it, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen a ton of that sentiment of like a bunch of this stuff I don't really care about, but this one leaving, I'm gonna have to buy this game. So that one's a bummer. And then the other one that I think is an undercover bummer that may not seem like that big of a deal, Tetris Effect Connected is leaving Game Pass. Tetris Effect is the best version of Tetris ever. I never thought that Tetris could be emotionally moving. And yet, Tetris Effect, with its syncing with music and how that game, conveys emotion through sound and the visual elements that go along with it. It's like playing Tetris in a music video. It's very cool. It's an extremely cool game. It's the best version of Tetris ever, like by leaps and bounds. It's very, very cool. That is definitely one I would highly recommend checking out before it leaves Game Pass. Tetris Effect Connected was actually the first game I played on my Xbox Series. Whenever I got my Series X in December 2020, I was looking through Game Pass and I was like, what are games that are Series X and S ready? And the first one that caught my eye was Tetris Effect. And that was the first game I played on my Series X. So I might actually buy this one before it leaves at the end of the month, because Tetris Effect Connected I thought was very, very cool. And I would definitely highly recommend checking that one out before it leaves the service.
There you go. I didn't realize it was anything other than just Tetris, maybe.
I think, cool. You see Tetris on the front door and you're like, oh, okay, it's Tetris.
Yeah, I've seen Tetris for decades.
It is Tetris as a cinematic experience, which you would not think would work, but it 100% works.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I would 100% go check that out. Even if you've got like an hour, right? Like play the first level. And there's a reason they renamed the game Tetris Effect Connected when they put it out everywhere else, because that first song is called Connected, and it's like a beautiful experience. It's very cool. Go check out Tetris Effect before it leaves Game Pass. Other than that, this is not a gigantic list of like soul crushing, this sucks that it's leaving Game Pass stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and only 5 games too, right? Like it's not a huge. Any month where we're gaining more than we're losing, big thumbs up, big success.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the nice thing is like there's only a a few leaving this month, really. It's not a ginormous list, and there's more games coming that I think can just kind of replace what you would have played that's leaving for the most part. You know, they're not the exact same kind of games, but they are probably equally as fun. Got that going for us.
Yeah. So we'll take that. Overall, banger month of Game Pass. I think this has been a great month. I wouldn't say any like surprises. Nothing like, I mean, our surprises for the month were Loop Hero and BlazBlue Cross Tag, so no big surprises. Which obviously surprise does play a factor in people's perception of whether a Game Pass month is good, right? Certainly nothing monumental in terms of, oh man, I didn't expect this to be here. That's rad. So no big surprises, but in terms of like the quality of games that just got put into the service is very high.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I will absolutely take that any day of the week.
Yeah, I am 100% in agreement. Like it's stacked, dude. It's hard to not look at this and go, this is pretty much all good stuff.
Yeah, this is what we want. Like, I just want good quality indies, and I want 1 to 2 good big AAA experiences. And between Ghostwire Tokyo and Minecraft Legends, we got it.
Yeah,
we did it. Big thumbs up.
You did what I wanted. Good job.
you did what I wanted Game Pass to do. Great job.
Yeah.
But there's something, Spence, that Microsoft is doing that the fan base did not want them to do at all. Let's talk about Redfall at 30 FPS. Let's talk about it. Let's get it done. Basically, long story short, they put out a tweet the other day that was saying Redfall will be launching with a performance mode only. It will be running at 4K 30 on Xbox Series X. It will be launching at 1440p 30 on Series S. A performance mode will be added at a later date. It's worth noting none of this affects the PC version. So PC version is not locked at 30. If you're on PC with your Mega Rig, you're still going to be able to play at 60 plus FPS, so don't worry there. But if you are on Xbox, if you're on the Series consoles, this game will be locked at 30 FPS to start, and a performance mode will be coming later on down the line. So let's get the obvious out of the way. This is not good news.
Right.
It is disappointing. It is not ideal. I obviously would greatly prefer to play Redfall at 60 FPS. I would prefer that. But it is a preference. It's also worth noting this is not the first time a game has launched next-gen only and still been 30 FPS. Screaming to mind is Gotham Knights. It's a perfect example of an open-world multiplayer game. There's a connection there. That also launched at a locked 30 FPS on next-gen only. It is not good news.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think Spencer and I, we've talked about this, and I think we're in agreement. I don't think this is the disaster that people are making it out to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is absolutely not as big of a deal as everybody is making it out to be. It sucks. It's a bummer. But it's not like they came out and said, well, it's going to be 30 FPS forever. We just can't do it. There's no chance of it ever being 60. They went, it'll be there later. And I've seen people, and I know people are saying like, well, this isn't a completed game if it's not at 60 FPS, blah, 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 whatever. Shut the fuck up. Games come out with way, way less than this, and people eat them up and love every moment of it. And then they're like, well, it'll get patched in later, and they're totally fine with it. But suddenly, this one, on this pretty small thing, in the grand scheme of things of a video game, it has been the end of the fucking world, dude.
Yeah. You'd think a nuclear bomb had been dropped on Microsoft headquarters with how
Yeah,
people are reacting
like
to this.
yeah, you would think they just went, hey, you know that game that was supposed to come out in like 3 weeks? We're just not going to release it. We're just not putting it out ever. The game's dead. We forgot about it. That's what people are at with their minds already. And
Yeah.
there's already the jumps of, well, the game's never going to get anything added to it because no one's going to play it. Well, then go fucking play it, dumbass. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
I hate all the
Seems
times
so-
I've been reading this stuff of, well, this
Yeah.
killed the whole game. No, it fucking didn't. You're killing the
No,
game by being a dummy.
Yeah. I've seen so many people jump on so many wild speculations based on this. Like, it's never going to get patched. Does this mean Starfield's going to be at 30 FPS? We don't fucking know that. It's a different development team, dude. Like,
Yeah,
we have
that's
no
a
clue.
different game. That's a different everything.
Completely different development team. We have no idea. Yeah, it's still Bethesda as a company, but like, that's Arcane. It's not Bethesda Game Studios. It's a completely different fucking studio.
I'm going to tell you
That's
right now.
Just not how that works.
I'm going to tell you right now. Look at me. If Starfield comes out and it's at 30 FPS and people aren't losing their fucking minds, I'm going to physically fight all of you. Because why does that one get a pass and this one didn't? Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm putting that out there for the future of all of you.
Okay.
If it
Yep.
comes out at 30 FPS, the entire Xbox subreddit better not load because people are so fucking angry. Because that's what's been happening with this, is people are just like, Xbox is worthless now. The whole company sucks. I'm like, it's one fucking game running at 30 frames per second in 4K.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not been that long ago that we played 1080p 30 FPS games
Yeah.
and loved it.
Just gonna say, for the record, there are certain genres where I need 60 FPS. I need 60 FPS in competitive games. This is not a competitive game. Like, your frame rate as to, performance does not matter in a cooperative PvE experience.
Yep.
It just doesn't. I can understand the sentiment of like, this is a shooter and 60 FPS is the standard for most shooters, the vast majority, right? So I understand some frustration. I understand, like, it is not an ideal situation. Absolutely. Most of the people that are complaining are going to play this on their PC anyway, and this literally does not affect them. Most of the people that are hungry for big FPS are on the platform that supplies that for them, and that's great. I do understand that Phil Spencer has in the past marketed the Xbox Series consoles as like, we're going to be better on frame rate. That's something we're focusing on. I do understand that. It is not good news. I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't disappointed when I read it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm happy about it. I absolutely do not think this is cause to delay Redfall. Absolutely
not at all. And I think
absolutely not.
I think the people who are saying that we should delay it, or the ones who are saying, well, I'm just not going to play it at launch, and this is automatically going to make it to where they don't support the game going forward because people aren't playing it at launch, are stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you want the game to do well. You're saying that. You want future things to come out. Then just fucking play it at 30 frames per second for a month or so until they patch it. Jesus. Like,
yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. And even, I'm going to go ahead and argue, I don't give a shit. People can be mad at me. I'm going to argue, back in the day, we did not have 60 frames per second in competitive shooters either. And they did very well. I would argue that competitive shooters on the 360 were probably bigger than they are now in terms of popularity. So, shut the fuck up. You'll be fine.
I don't want to be like completely dismissive because I do know there are a lot of people that are sensitive to frame rates. I am not one of those people. I can enjoy a game just as well at 30 FPS as 60 FPS. And hell, I'll give you a perfect example of where I'm at in my life. My favorite game of 2019, period, overall, full stop, was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm replaying that game right now in prep for Jedi Survivor, still loving it. It is nice to be able to play that game now on the Series X without all the performance issues that plagued it on Xbox One. But it was still my favorite game of the year, even with all the performance issues.
Yep.
Like, if a game is good enough, it can overcome some performance downsides. And this isn't even that big of a performance downside. If the reason they locked it at 60 is because with multiplayer, with a big open world that either player can explore at will at either time and able to keep sync, right? It's not like you're locked next to each other and they're rendering only the place that you're at. They're rendering everything. Yep. The whole fucking world all at once with two people. And they have to keep those two people in sync while they're doing separate things. That's a difficult challenge. And if it wasn't running stably at 60 on console, I think locking it at 30 and then figuring it out on the back end is probably the right call, because I think people would complain more if the frame rate was unsteady.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. People, the reviews would be bombing that, saying, well, I got to this room and dropped to 2 frames for a minute and a half. Game is literally unplayable.
I think people would complain more if the game came out with an unsteady frame rate. I think people would complain more. So if your choices are, the marketing budget has already been spent, the game's already been delayed once, people have been hammering Microsoft for delays for a year, the game has to come out. Like, delaying it at this point, when the marketing money's already spent, when we're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from the game coming out, delaying the game at that point is not an option. Mm-hmm. It's just not. Like, you're burning money if you do that. It's not a viable business option, unfortunately, when we're 2 weeks out from the game coming out. It's just not a business option. You cannot do that. The marketing money's already spent. Copies of the game are probably already heading to retailers.
Yep.
Right? Delaying the game at this point is not an option. It's just not. They probably hoped that they could fix this before the game came out and day one patch it. They didn't get there. Your options are lock it at 30 or have a game with an unstable frame rate day of. Those are your two options. And I think of those two options, they picked the least bad option.
Yeah, I think so too. And like, my biggest thing, like we've said, is way bigger games and games that people have absolutely loved have come out in less completed states than this in the past few years. And people ate them up and loved every second of it. Why is this one such a problem for you over such a small thing?
I think, honestly, a lot of it, some of it, I think, is Microsoft marketed this console as a 60 FPS machine. Like, I think some of it is that. I think Microsoft bears some weight of blame here. When you advertise your console as the most powerful console and then it can't run at the frame rate that people prefer, people are going to get annoyed by that, and I think that's fair. Especially since this has been the first big first-party game that Microsoft has put out basically since Halo Infinite, I think fair to say. Mm-hmm. I understand some frustration at that. I totally understand that. I do think the frustration is overblown, though, especially knowing that it's coming later, right? Like, if they had said, it's not happening, fuck you, it's 30 FPS on console, yeah, sure, okay. I can understand this.
That would be a different thing.
Yeah, I could understand this level of anger. I don't understand this level of anger. And frankly, in general, I don't understand the level of anger of the Xbox community in general right now. I understand that 2022 was a bad year for Xbox game publishing. Totally get that. There was not a lot of first-party stuff this year, or last year. This year looks insane. Like, this year is so stacked with stuff that, like, I literally can't understand being this mad at Microsoft right now. Like, I genuinely don't get it. I genuinely don't understand being this mad.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand being annoyed. Like, yeah, 2022 was bad, but 2023 looks preposterous. Like, I and maybe I run in different circles, man. I don't know. Like, I'm not in the thick of it every single day. I don't feel a need to compete with Sony fanboys online. Like, I just don't. Like, I want everybody to enjoy the the entire breadth of the gaming industry. This is not a Xbox needs to win thing for me. It's just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. Like that's dumb. That's stupid people talking about stupid things that don't matter. Um,
yeah.
do you enjoy the games you play? Great. That's all that matters. Stop acting like one is better than the other. Um, the only time that I currently will accept people bashing Sony in any way, shape, or form is how they are handling the whole Blizzard Activision thing. But
Yep.
if we're just going like, well, Redfall's at 30 frames per second, I should have bought a PS5. No, shut up. That's stupid. That's a dumb thing
Yeah.
that you said, and you should delete it from the internet. Because it's
Yeah.
silly. Like,
It's silly.
it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. And here's the other thing too, personally for me, of all the things to be upset about when it comes to Redfall, the 30 frames per second is way less important to me than not having progression for everyone. But
Yeah, no progression.
I did not see a single person care about that.
I've seen a lot of people
I
upset
see
about
people
always
upset about it
online.
now.
Yeah.
But before then, I did not.
And I've also seen a lot of people upset about the always online requirement. I have seen people upset about that. Which this is a multiplayer game, so like, yeah, probably. They
Yeah.
are working on getting rid of that too.
Yeah.
Which great, that's grand. I have seen people upset about that too. I think the progression not carrying over when I'm playing with a friend is a bigger deal. Your gear progresses, you still carry over all your gear. This game is sounding more and more like Borderlands all the time when I hear it described. Like, this is sounding a hell of a lot like Borderlands but spooky. This is a problem that Borderlands solved with Borderlands 3. Like, your progress in story missions carries over even if you're playing in multiplayer in that game.
Yeah.
So that is something I would like to see fixed, but it doesn't sound like that one's getting fixed. I think that's a bigger problem than any of the other shit that we're talking about here. Like, as long as the frame rate's stable, I don't care whether it's at 30, 60, 120, 847, 9,675. I don't give a fuck. Is it stable and is it playing smoothly in front of me?
Yeah.
Does the game feel fun to play?
Yeah. And
That's what I care about?
Is it fun? Is the biggest question. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest problem, like, I think you completely said it and agreed, is the no progression thing. And nobody cared until suddenly the game's only at 30 frames per second. And now it has been literally find any and every single tiny little bitty little thing that I can complain about this game on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Which is, it's just dumb. I just don't fucking care. Does the game come out? Does it work? Are they going to patch things later? Well, great. Welcome to video games since 2010. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Yeah. Like, there is a culture now of putting out video games incomplete.
Which I don't like.
Which I don't like either. I don't think anybody likes that shit.
But
Nobody likes that.
for such small things, why are we so mad when there are way bigger things that have happened with games and people are like, it's fine, they'll patch it later. It'll be okay.
I mean, I think for a lot of people, they see those frame rate videos that are very popular online now. And I don't want to call out Digital Foundry specifically. I like the guys at Digital Foundry. I think they make well-informed, solid content about the actual performance of video games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they have spawned a ton of imitators who only look at the frame rate and use that to judge the entire quality of the video game because it's a simple, easy metric that's easy to understand. Video games are exceptionally difficult and complicated to make.
Right.
They're like profoundly difficult to make. How have we managed to turn ones and zeros into art? It is phenomenal. Yeah. Like, if you actually stop and take a big step back, like, that's fucking preposterous. How did we do that, right?
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people who use FPS as a determinant as to whether a game is good or not. And I will simply point you at another game that's coming out in a couple of weeks, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That baby's going to be lucky to run at 30.
Mark, I want you to know that is literally what I just Googled. Was Zelda Tears of the Kingdom FPS. Because I knew for a fact that was not running over 30. If 30. Nope.
Yeah.
And people are going to lose their minds over that game.
Yep.
They're going to do the most basic, stupid thing and like donk a dude in the head with a wooden stick and go, Game of the Year. There is more to the game than that. I think it's going to be a great game. But those are the tiny little things that people will lose their minds over. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to be something tiny, and that's the greatest thing in the world. And then it's like, well, this game runs at 15 frames per second at 1080p. But that 4K game that's coming out that runs at 30, I'm real upset about that one.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the hardware is different there. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but I get what you're saying. Like,
but that's what I'm saying is it doesn't matter. The hardware doesn't have to be the same. The frame rates don't have to be the same. The resolution doesn't have to be the same. Is the game fun? Do you like it? Does it work?
Yeah.
There you go, dude. That's literally all you need in a video game. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I completely agree. I think there is a big amount of like chasing these technical specs. And I, don't get me wrong, I like a good looking video game, and I think a lot of that technical spec stuff is interesting. I completely
for sure.
agree. And I would absolutely prefer this game running at 60 frames per second. If I have the choice between a quality mode and a performance mode, I'm choosing the performance mode.
Yeah.
Every single time. Absolutely.
And
I'm not sitting here saying like that this is a good thing. It's not.
Right.
I would greatly prefer this game running at 60 FPS. I would greatly prefer that. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to play Redfall, and I'm still going to judge it on its merits as a video game. Is it fun? Is the loop interesting? Does the progression of multiplayer stuff get in the way, or does it feel like not that big of a deal? How does the game play? What is the art style like? Do I think it works? How is the writing? That's the kind of shit that I'm interested in. I want to know about the game, right? Yeah. And I feel like maybe some of this shit goes away when people actually get their hands on it and they can play it.
Oh, 100%. This is exactly what's going to happen. All the people who are saying, it's 30 frames per second, I'm not going to play it, are going to play it. I guarantee it. I 100% guarantee you those people are going to play the game. And they're going to go, this game was fun. Can't wait till they add 60 frames per second. Or they're going to go, I didn't really enjoy this game. It's not for me. And then there will be the handful of people that go, I played Redfall at 30 frames per second, and it was the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life, and I've had my wisdom teeth removed. Or some dumb YouTube clicky baity title. And then in a month or 2 months, that video will be forgotten, and Redfall will still be a fun video game.
There you go. I don't know. I mean, man. I think that ties it up.
I just think the whole thing's stupid. like I hate when people are like, I'm not playing it because of this dumb tiny thing, and then immediately turn around and play it. Like, shut up. You don't need your fake internet points, dude. Just play the game and be happy with your life. It's not that difficult of a concept.
I am more like, I understand why there's frustration about this. I just think the frustration is a bit overblown.
Yes, I understand the frustration of going, oh man, that's a bummer. But to go, well, this game's dead in the water. It's not even fucking out yet, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mentality of the video game online discourse of wanting to kill games dead before they're even out the door is so bizarre to me. I will never understand it. And then people will turn around in 2 weeks and say, they're not adding content drops to Redfall every 16 seconds. Game's dead. Get it out of here. Get the shovel. Fucking blah, blah.
Yeah.
I got to make 18 YouTube videos about it. Like, I do not understand that part of gaming culture at all. I do not understand the need to denigrate other games to lift others up. I simply do not understand it. I will never understand it. And I am hopeful that we do not make content that falls into that. And, you know, it's this weird mentality that I will just never understand. Like, if the game comes out and it sucks, I will be the first one in line to say, yeah, the game's not very good.
Yeah, that's totally fine. If it comes out,
Yeah.
we play it, and it is actively not a good video game, and then we want to say, oh, hey, this game's not good, that's fine. But to immediately say, well, this game is dead in the water and will never be a good video game because it came out at 30 frames per second with 60 frames per second supposed to be patched later. And if they don't patch it, that's another thing. That's a different story. But as of now, we are operating under the assumption that they will be patching 60 frames per second in the future. To act like that immediately has killed a game, and that it's going to kill all of Xbox is just so dumb. And I don't have a different way to describe it other than it's just dumb. If you don't want to play it, shut up and don't play it. I don't care. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There's 9 billion video games on this planet.
Yep. Go play the video games that you enjoy. Like, that's hopefully, I think, the lesson that we can take from this is, like, man, sometimes this online discourse of video games is just fucking silly. And, like, take a step back and, like, really examine whether you're actually enjoying a video game or whether you're just enjoying winning good boy points on the internet because all your friends say a bunch of dumb shit and you agree with the dumb shit.
Yep.
Like, at the end of the day, this whole thing is supposed to be about enjoying video games, loving video games. We're in this shit because we love it, right? And I just don't think this is worth getting apocalyptically upset about. I think it's worth being concerned. I think it's worth going and saying, hey, you know, we said we're focusing on 60 FPS games. This is a first-party release that's not 60 FPS. Why is that?
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable question to ask. And I think we will eventually get an answer on that. Why was that the case? I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming it probably wasn't running stably in multiplayer at 60. It was probably running fine at single player. Multiplayer became a problem.
Yeah.
Which is the exact same thing that happened to Halo Infinite, I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if that's the case. And I think once people know the why and that they're working to fix it, I think it's okay. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think Microsoft Games Publishing is going to collapse as a result of this decision.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very likely, like you said, that just something wasn't working perfectly at 60 frames per second, and they said, okay, we have two options. We can delay an entire video game, which we have spent millions of dollars on to make and to market, over it not running perfectly at 60 frames per second, but we can fix that later. It just needs more time. Or we can just put it out at 30 and have the game out when it's supposed to be out after it's already been delayed once, and people are so upset about delayed video games right now.
Yep.
Think about it. If you own a business, which one are you going to do?
Yeah.
Pretty obviously, you're going to do the one that gets the product out and gets money funneling back in.
Yeah, especially since, for one, there's been a huge frustration with Xbox in general about getting games out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And we're 2 weeks from release and the marketing money's already spent.
Yep.
It's not like, oh, we can just take back all the Redfall stuff and change the date from May 5th to July 7th or whatever.
Yeah.
The money's already spent. The game's already headed to retailers. Are we expecting fucking Best Buy to hold on to copies of the game for 2 months?
And get new signage out?
Yeah. and all the little things that go into marketing a video game.
Yeah, it's like this is more than just a frame rate thing. Like, there's more to video games than it moved faster than old one did.
Right.
Yeah. No, there, if nothing else, they didn't have another option. From a business perspective, you just don't. You have to put a game out. When you've put that much money into all of it right now. If it was a year or two away, that'd be one thing. But to be less than a month away, that train's left the station. You're not coming back. There's no way.
Yeah. You know, you compare this to the Halo Infinite situation where Halo Infinite got delayed, we were probably 5 or so months out from that game's release, and then they pulled it back for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're that far away, you can do that.
Yeah.
We're not that far away. Like, this got announced, and they were probably, I assume, working on this every single day to try to make it happen on launch. They might go, oh, okay, you have to put out a day one patch. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were busting ass to try to make this happen, and it didn't happen.
Oh, for sure.
And I would much rather this game come out at 30 FPS and then it gets patched in a month or two than have the developers at Arcane Austin go through a bunch of crunch. Yeah. I would much rather that. So, like, you can't have it both ways. You just can't. You can't have it both ways.
No.
So, I don't know. I understand. I'm more understanding of the frustration, but I still don't think it's worth delaying the game for in the slightest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, there's a difference in frustration of, oh man, that kind of sucks. Oh well. And Xbox is dead. Like, you know what I mean? There's just it's blown way out of proportion for what it is. And I just think it's silly. It's just silly. I don't have any other way to put it. Like,
yeah.
If you're not happy about it, go, that sucks. All right, well, whatever. Let's move on. But I mean, if it becomes a constant, regular thing where these games aren't hitting the metrics they're supposed to be, maybe we can relook at that about being okay. Well, why is no title coming out at 60 frames per second when they said it would? You know what I mean? If we get to that point, that's a different story. This is one video game, and they've already said we plan to fix it. Like, I don't know what else you want.
Yeah.
Also, you go make a video game then. How about that?
I don't necessarily buy into the whole, like, you have to learn to make the art to criticize the art, but I get you. I get what you mean. I understand.
There's a difference in criticizing and going, we'll kill the whole game then. You know, which is a lot of the sentiment that I have seen online is the game's dead in the water. Forget it. We're moving on forever. Like, yeah. It's stupid.
It's very silly. All right, man. So that'll do it for the news show. That's our takes on Redfall at 30 FPS, which I feel like is very interesting compared to how the rest of the internet's reacting.
I'm sure there are other people who feel the same way and are just like, I'm not going to post about this because I don't care enough. Right?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, I'm not going to go on Reddit and argue with people because you're automatically just going to be wrong to them. And get constantly yelled at by people who are so up in arms about 30 frames. And they're just like, I don't care. I'm going to play the game and I'll be fine with it. Like, that's where we would have been if we didn't have a news show. Like, we would have probably talked about it together and been like, it's stupid. I don't know why people are so angry, but I wasn't going to like go on Reddit and argue with people about it. I had better shit to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like most people who aren't that up in arms about it, who are on the same page of us, like, man, that kind of sucks. That's a bummer. But well, what are you gonna do? Are in the same boat of, well, I'm just not gonna go deal with it. I don't want to argue with people. I don't care.
Yeah. So let us know what you think in the comments down below on YouTube, or come hang out with us in the live streams on Twitch. Let us know what you think of Redfall at 30 FPS, because I think it's very different from where the rest of the world seems to be, which is just fascinating to me. But we got a great slate of stuff coming up next month here in the world of SPARCPass. We're going to be reviewing Minecraft Legends for the main Game Pass show, for the main Game of the Month show. We'll have all the news ready to go. We're creeping in on Summer Games Fest season, Spence. We're creeping in on the summer news season.
Yeah.
I feel like May is whenever we're going to start hearing about stuff that we're going to see in June, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think May is going to be a very interesting month. We'll see where things land in the world of Xbox. So come hang out with us. You can hang out with us on these news shows live at twitch.tv/SparkPass. That is on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. You can catch the main shows in between the two news shows. The main show comes out on your podcast feed, and we may have a more interesting video option for you coming in the very near future for that. Ooh. So thank you guys so much for stopping in. We really appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next month about everything coming in the world of Xbox in the next SparkPass News Update. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.